I like to talk to all my clients who are preparing for a vaginal birth about perineal massage, and here's why. Even though the research is a bit wishy-washy, some of it says perineal massage is great, it's very helpful, and other research says, I still talk about it with everybody. And my reason is because I think of it more of as a body awareness exercise than simply just tuning out and massaging. The reality is our pelvic floor and perineum specifically need to stretch big time to allow a baby to come out. And it's very normal to experience some tearing or even need an episiotomy. But I think for a lot of people, that's scary. So learning about this area of your body and how to control these muscles and help with the stretch process can be very helpful. Because let's face it, how many of us really feel in tune with these muscles? Not many, because these are muscles we're not used to thinking about. It's hard to show on this model what perineal stretching, as I usually call it, looks like because these muscles don't move. So look what I did for you. Okay, so I've got these underwear that I bought and I cut in a hole to make it look like a vagina. And there's muscle that makes up the opening of the vagina at the pelvic floor. And we have control over these muscles. So where I start women is feeling what it feels like to close and lift these muscles like a proper Kegel versus relax and soften the muscles to feel them open. I'm obviously exaggerating this, but this is where I start them, feeling what it feels like to tighten and relax. I often ask them to use their breath and notice that when they exhale, they can generally get more lift and closure. When they inhale, they can feel it open more. Then perineal stretching is a way to take it further. So I ask them, try this in your bed, try this in the bathtub. The goal would be to add a little bit of stretch. You know how when you're doing, let's say, pigeon pose, you get down into pigeon pose and you're like, oh, so tight, so tight. You kind of want to pull away from that. Can you imagine that a baby coming out of here and like stretching or pushing on these muscles is like our muscles wanting to kind of pull away from that? Learning how to kind of accommodate that. Like in your pigeon pose, what would you do? You'd sit there, you'd breathe, and you would allow the muscles to let go. So same thing here. Once they feel like they know how to connect it, I want them to take it a step further. So they'll come onto the perineum, and usually I tell them first to just go in with one hand. So they'd be using their thumb, going in and pinching. So the fingers on the outside, thumbs on the inside, and they're just noticing, like, what does that feel like? I say, and sometimes they're like, oh, I don't like it. I'm like, yes. So instead of just kind of like tensing up, I want you to sit with that. And I want you to use those visuals or cues in your head that allowed you to feel soft and open. Do you need an inhale? And I want you to stay there until you feel like you can make a difference. And most of them will say, oh, I can feel that. So then I might say, move a little bit to the middle or move over to the side and just pinch, and same thing until you see that you can create softness in those muscles. Then to take it another step further, I'll get them to come in with two thumbs or fingers and create a little bit of stretch. So maybe out to the sides, maybe down, but you're creating stretch. And again, instead of pulling away, pigeon pose on the perineum. So just thinking about like accommodating to that. Now, some people feel that they can't reach, maybe your belly's getting bigger and bigger. Absolutely, a partner can do this for you. The goal though is relaxation. And if someone else staring at that hole makes you feel tense, then that's not the right idea. You're not just doing it to cross it off the list. It doesn't really help if you're not being able to create softness. So someone else can be very helpful, but sometimes they're not. A lot of times people like someone else doing it because that other person can give them the feedback. The other person can say, oh, I noticed you. Like as soon as you really relaxed into it or you thought about that, I really felt it soften. The other thing you can do is use something else there's pelvic floor wands you can buy. You can even use a dilator if you have one to kind of extend your handle, hold down, and just breathe. So again, it's not just about like, moving it around because you're not necessarily going to get the relaxation.